Well, yes, we've got the Minister of Transportation here in the studios, Rotimi Amaechi. Thank you very much for coming on this morning, sir. Well, we might as well start with getting your response to the comments from Rigasa. Much as, yes, a lot of people, some haven't even been there, but many have been there, they're looking forward to the experiences. But for those who have used it, the feedback coming from them, how do you take them in?
Well, what feedback?
The feedback in terms of how the services, the provision of the services, the efficiency, what they want improvement. You know, they always ask for more.
It depends on what time you are getting the feedback. Don't forget, before this time, the feedback was, oh, wonderful, it's punctual, it's beautiful, the air conditioners are working, the toilets are working, the service is efficient. Don't forget. Then in the past 1 month, when the pressure has come on it, then you hear people complain about services. Why won't you complain if the services are provided for just 300 passengers going, 300 passengers returning? Now we are overrun by over 2,000 passengers in a day. So for what you provided for 300 passengers, the service you provided for 300 passengers is now being overwhelmed by an extra 1,700 passengers. The only way to sort that problem out is to ensure that you increase services. And to increase services, you need to buy more locomotives, more coaches.
Is that going to happen?
Well, it certainly will happen if we continue to have this kind of pressure.
I mean, when is it?
No, but you can't say, because it wasn't budgeted for. We didn't at any time think, okay, let's in 2018 budget for more coaches because there'll be crime, or there'll be an increase in crime on the Abuja-Kaduna road. So what you've done is you've transferred passengers, including rich men who used to drive in their car to Kaduna, to now begin to use train. So that 1,700 extra passengers will bear pressure on the toilet system, will bear pressure on the catering system, on the ticketing, and even on the locomotives and coaches. Maybe not on the locomotive, because the locomotive can take any tonnage of cargo you put on it, but certainly on the coaches.
This is born out of the insecurity we found along the Abuja-Kaduna axis, and as a result, to a large extent,
and more of the kidnappers.
More people are now looking towards the rail infrastructure that will move from Rigasa to Abuja. But if you say we may have to get more coaches to be, although not budgeted for at the moment, if we have to go that way, and if the IGP, according to Mr. President, is actually losing weight to try to see that security situation is improved across the country, if you go ahead to acquire more coaches, and at the end of the day, security has been defeated, insecurity has been defeated, that will render the coaches redundant.
Exactly. Thank you for your thinking, because this is a temporary problem, so it needs temporary solution. If you then say, okay, let's budget for 50 coaches and maybe 10 locomotives, and you put them there, it's transporting passengers now, on the day that this insecurity is resolved, it becomes wasted investment.
I'm not sure it's going to be that, because people will always, if they like the service, they'll keep going back.
You know that the train operates according to time. So if you're supposed to be in Kaduna by 10, you won't want to join the train at 6:30.
No, but the reason why we're bringing the rail system in this country is not because of insecurity. I mean, I stand corrected. Is it?
Yeah, but you see, for every transportation system you have, you must do traffic count. What the traffic count tells you is these are the number of persons that can use this rail at any particular point in time. So you provide for those number of persons. And we did that, and we targeted it, and we were correct until that pressure came to bear. It means that once that pressure is resolved, you're back to that same traffic count. If we have a traffic count that says, prepare for XYZ number of coaches in so number of years. Now, we have not gotten to that number of years. We are now under pressure. So what you should say, and what the public should be saying, is how to resolve the insecurity. And there are so many things you need to do to resolve the insecurity. You need to do community policing, you need to do regular policing, you need to fight poverty. Once you do that, the traffic...
Not state police.
Well, whether state or community, whatever it is.
How much have we spent so far for this infrastructure, the rail infrastructure in the country?
No, I'm not off the hook. I can't just tell you without having document papers in my hand. But I know that the Lagos-Ibadan will cost about $1.6 billion. That will not include the extra cost of things we did not prepare for, we did not see in the valuation. Then the Kaduna Abuja to construct it cost us about $1 billion. We've also paid, we have awarded a contract of $500 million to buy locomotives and, in fact, rolling stock for Lagos-Ibadan. And I can't remember how much we spent buying rolling stock for Kaduna Abuja. That's what we so far spent. So all those numbers you hear, we say $8.something billion, $7 billion, they are not just there. It's just these are things we borrowed. And I don't think it will be more than up to $3 billion so far.
But shouldn't it be the thinking of government, seeing that rail transportation is usually preferred, in other climes, rather than use the roads? I don't think, from what we said earlier, wouldn't it still be a good idea to invest in this rail infrastructure, seeing that, once people get used to it, they might actually prefer it to going on the roads, and it will reduce the pressure on the roads?
Everybody knows that, but it's capital intensive. 2 trillion naira is about $2.7 billion. And that is just about 200 kilometers of railway. So if you plan to do Lagos-Ibadan, and you're looking at $8.7 billion, $8.7 billion would be between 3 and 4 trillion naira. How much is the budget of the country? So just do 1,003 to 500 kilometers of railway. So if you, that's why I say we need about between $35 to $45 billion to be able to do Lagos to Kano, Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, Lagos to Calabar, and then Abuja to Warri. Once you do these 4 tracks, you've covered the country, and then you've solved the problem of transportation to a great extent.
Well, speaking about the plan, is government keen into the 25-year strategic vision?
That's what we're implementing.
For the railway.
That's what we're implementing.
That's what
we're implementing. That's what we're implementing. That's the design we have. So it's not as if there are, you can amend, you can do some further studies, but that's what we're implementing. So what you have there is Lagos to Kano, and we're implementing that. Part of it also includes from Kano to Maradi in Nigeria Republic. And then we have expanded the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri after the directive of the president that we must ensure that we are in nearly all the state capitals. So Lagos to Ibadan, Lagos to Kano, we've included Ekiti because it wasn't there in the initial 25-year plan. And so based on the directive of the president that we must get to every state capital, we've now put a spur from Ogbomoso also to Ekiti. Then Lagos to Calabar, I don't think we included anywhere because Lagos to Calabar is from Lagos to Benin or passing through Ore. Okay, we did. We included Akure in the design for Lagos to Calabar because Akure wasn't part of it initially. Then after that, I don't think there's another thing because it's from there to Benin, Benin to Abo, to Asaba, and to Onitsha, and then to Benin to Ueli, Warri, Yenegua, Port Harcourt, Aba, Uyo, and Calabar. And that's the Lagos to Calabar. Where you have massive inclusion is Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. Ordinarily, if you have run straight on. But what we've done now is a spur either from Port Harcourt to Warri or a spur from Aba to Warri. Warri wasn't part of it. And then you have Umuahia. Umuahia was part of it. But the spur to Oka, there are 2 designs which we are considering. Either design from Port Harcourt passing through the Ikwere Road axis to Warri, continue from there to Newi, and then to Oka, then Enugu.
Are they all standard gauge?
Of course, all of them are standard. As I said, we need between $35 to $45 billion.
Can this standard gauge carry a heavier, or should I say, faster capacity train?
Of course, it's a speed train. For now, we're doing 120 kilometers per hour, right? You can increase to, if you can pay. The Chinese are doing 350 kilometers per hour. So in 4 hours or 5 hours, you are 350 kilometers per hour. In 4 hours, you're in Kano.
But I understand we're linking, I think, Jigawa to Niger Republic.
You heard me say Maradi. You heard us. It's part of the 25-year design. But you see, if there's money, there has to be money. And that is Kano to Duse, to Kazware, to Daura, to Katsina, right? To Jibia. Jibia is in Nigeria. Then from Jibia to Maradi, a border town in Niger Republic. Why is that train necessary? Yeah. If you complete Lagos to Kano, and you take that train up to Maradi, the implication is that our neighboring countries would then have to use our seaport because of the fact of the transportation network, no police, no checkpoints, no customs, immigration. Once you're cleared your goods at the seaport, you're headed straight
So
to...
are we solely footing the bill for the one to Niger Republic, or is it counterpart funding from
How?
the country?
You're not doing it into their country, you're doing it just to the border town so that they can come there and import and export through your rail system and through your seaport. So all you're doing is increase the competitiveness of your seaport.
Is there any private partnership involved in all these investments?
I have said this in the cabinet that anybody should show me anywhere in the world where you have seen a private investor on the railway, and I challenge you to say that. What you see, what people refer to when they say, oh, there are private investors in the railway sector, what you have as private investors are people who put money in operation, not in construction of rail tracks, because it's extremely expensive. I just told you here now that we are doing, and the cabinet just awarded it last week, even though I didn't address the press, but cabinet awarded the contract for Abuja to Warri, Abuja to Itabe, because I already Itabe to Warri, and then from Warri to the seaport. We are building a new seaport in Warri. Cabinet approved it last week. Now that's about 3.9 billion or so. I can't remember now. And if 2.7 billion is 1 trillion naira, you're close to 2 trillion naira. So name the private individual who can bring that money.
So wait, is it that we don't have any inclination or any opportunity for the private sector to come in for?
No, they're there. Let them come. Let them come. We're waiting. We're waiting. Because for a private person to bring $3.9 billion, return on investment is essential. And railway does not make such returns. Right? What railway does is that it feeds the economy. It provides access for you to make money in the economy. So if you put $3.9 billion, how many years will it take you to recover it? Close to 40 years. Okay. How many investors will do that?
All right, if you could shed some light on this for us. I mean, I know that in 2012, we signed an agreement with China for the construction of this Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail double track. Is it the same one? Because that was to modernize. And it was supposed to be. Is it the same one?
I think so. Because
I thought that in 2016 you signed another contract, 2 of them.
To who?
With CCEC. I think they say it was what, 5.1 billion. Is it the same one?
Okay, I'll brief you now. It's supposed to be a Lagos to Kano, $8.7 billion. When we commenced, I heard the federal government then, under Obasanjo, decided to do segmentation. Segmentation is, look, we'll do Lagos-Ibadan first, we'll do Kano to Kaduna second, we'll do Kaduna to Mina, Mina to Ilorin to, then you've completed it. And then Abuja to Kaduna, then Mina to Abuja, then you've completed it. That's the segmentation. So when we came, we discovered that they've done the first segment, which they chose, and that is the Kaduna to Abuja. Then we chose 2 segments, Lagos to Ibadan and Kano to Kaduna. The China Exim Bank decided to fund Lagos to Ibadan. When we went for the next release for Kano to Kaduna, they said no, they would prefer that we take the entire contract, which is from Ibadan to Kano. And when you take a segment, you obliterate the old contract. So you have to award a new contract. So we awarded the new contract, which is Lagos to Ibadan. That's what you're referring to. Then when they came back and said, no, we don't want segmentation anymore, we want to do all. We had to go back for a new contract, which then was $5.something billion that will take you to Kano. It's just the same kind of contract. So
what's going on with this? Because I still remember that in 2014, the Chinese premier, I think he visited Ethiopia at the time, this Africa summit between Africa and Asia, and he said, I think Nigeria had this $13.1 billion deal worth to build 1,385-kilometer high-speed railway in the country. That was widely reported at the time. Do we know about that?
I don't know about that. I'm not aware of that.
No document, nothing
whatsoever. I've just told you this. I'm aware that before the China Exim Bank. In fact, there are actually 2 contracts that are before the China Exim Bank: Lagos to Kano and Lagos to Calabar.
Is the interest on this, is this sustainable?
Of course. 3%. 3%. Where can you get that kind of thing? It's called concessionary loan. That's why you see China is struggling to release such kind of money to us, because in the meeting I attended with them, they were complaining that they pay more money borrowing from the international market and then giving to us at a cheap cost. So they pay 5% and give us at 3%.
You know, some time ago, the governor of Lagos, he was addressing a group of people in Ekpe, and he spoke about the ports. He was appealing to the federal government to see how they can open up other ports to decongest Lagos ports. What's government's plan about the ports?
The port, first, you can't force an importer to import through a particular port. It's a business decision that the importer has to make. Now, most people who import from Onitsha, you expect that they should import through Port Harcourt, but most of them import through Lagos because of insecurity. And I had announced to this country that the president had approved a contract of $195 million to enable an Israeli firm train our Navy, our soldiers, our police, our SSS, and Air Force to be able to man our waterways, to get the waterways, to rid it of insecurity. Unfortunately, it took more than 2 years to implement that contract because of other forces that we couldn't control. However, the president was insistent on the implementation of that contract. So we're implementing the contract now. Now, these are not equipments you buy off the shelf. So you can't pick a helicopter off the shelf because there are about 2 or 3 helicopters that will fly above our water. And there are fixed wings planes that you need to buy with cameras. They are not things you buy off the shelf. There are vessels. There are, what do you call it, boats, fast-speed boats and all that. We have finished training the officers. We've trained the soldiers. We've trained a lot of people. But that won't solve the problem. What will solve the problem is that these equipments must come on board. And it's taking time to complete the fabrication of these equipments. Once they're completed, after fabrication, and they're brought into our water, you can be sure that that water will not experience what we're currently experiencing.
So when is that going to be?
That's a good question. We are compelling them to get into the water by June, even though they don't have enough equipment. But we believe that before the end of the year, those equipments will be available for use in the Nigerian water. When that happens, then people can freely import through Port Harcourt, Warri, and all that, because we would have gotten rid of these criminals who kidnap and do all sorts of things in our waterways. That's what we intend to do. And most of those equipments carry cameras.
What's the thinking behind the Transportation University?
Knowledge. You know, one thing about the railway engineering is that if you're not part of it, you're not part of it. So you can't come to Nigeria and construct railways and then you go, and people are not trained. So what we're doing is just, okay, look, you cannot remain here permanently. You can't construct and run and maintain forever until we die. We need to transfer this technology. We need to at a stage, just like they're doing now in South Africa. They're fabricating locomotives and coaches. They're exporting, South Africans are exporting locomotives and coaches, right? The same to Indonesia. I was in Indonesia. They wanted us to buy some of their coaches, and they were willing to give us about $60 million loan to be able to buy some of their coaches. Where did we visit? So you see, and if you see how these people got the knowledge of fabricating these coaches and locomotives, there are 2 essential factors, in fact 3 essential factors. The first factor is that the iron ore industry must be vibrant. And so for me, my colleague in the Mines and Steel is doing all he can to recover Ajokuta. But I think we should also encourage as many persons as possible to invest in the iron ore industry. Once you have the iron ore industry, so it will be easy to fabricate things, because you need metals.
But Transportation University, is just going to be dealing with railway transportation?
No, I'm coming. If I finish, if I get so essentially, they will therefore transfer this knowledge. First, I say you have to have the iron ore. You need to have you have to transfer the knowledge by teaching people what you have done, right? And the moment you do that, I expect Nigerians to begin to fabricate their own locomotives and coaches so we can stop importing. The next step we took is that we've compelled, we had given $500 million contract to CCCC to bring in some coaches, locomotives, and all that for the Lagos-Ibadan. But what I told them is exactly what they did in China and what they did in South Africa. When they gave GE the contract to fabricate locomotives and coaches for them in China, they gave them 25-50% to bring from outside, to bring from their country. The remaining 75-85% must be assembled in their country. The same. So we say, listen, we will only allow you about 15% of those locomotives and coaches from China. The rest, please assemble in Nigeria. And they have 5 years to assemble. The rest years they have to manufacture in Nigeria.
So with your stewardship, if I may just jump in, with your stewardship, do you think you still have a place in this administration as minister, or, if you will, in the cabinet?
This administration will end on the 29th of May 2019, so I don't know what you mean. I'm still a minister.
Oh, no, the president has been re-elected. I mean, so will you come back?
Nobody can answer that question. Only the president, after God, only the president can answer that question. So you can't tell who will be the minister for transport. But whoever is the minister for transport, I believe the president has the capacity to make that decision, and the person will have the ability to be able to deliver, if not better than I have delivered.
But are you satisfied with your performance?
I'm not in a position to make that assessment. Yeah.
Do you think there are areas you would have done better?
The story of life is all about improvement. If I say this is the best I can offer, then it means that I'm not open to better knowledge. You can never tell that where you are now. If you study further, you may make an improvement in your relationship with work. I was talking to some of the journalists who confronted me the last time we went for inspection and said, "Oh, all the passion you have in the railway, supposing what will happen if you're not reappointed as Minister for Transport?" I said, the person coming may have a higher passion. And I threw a joke at them, and I said, that's how you all said when I was governor of Rivers State. And a few years after I left, Wike went on, "Oh, he did nothing." And you all joined them and said, "Oh, he did nothing." So you've forgotten the primary schools you were inspecting, the health centers you were inspecting with me, the power stations we built, the roads we constructed. And one man just came, "He did nothing," just because he's paying bribe. He said, "Yeah, he did nothing." So the same way you're talking now, the typical biblical listen that Jesus said, "Crucify him, crucify." The same people that were saying, "Hosanna, Hosanna." On the
Did he say paying bribe?
Yes, Wike pays bribe.
To who?
I don't know. Don't you ask yourself the question of the fact that APC was stopped from running election? You think it was good? Anyway, let's not go there.
But you supported the AAC candidate.
But let's not go there. Let me finish about transportation. Now, I told them, I said, the same way people shouted on the day of, what do you call Palm Sunday, "Hosanna, Hosanna, Christ our leader, Hosanna." On the day he was crucified, "Crucify him, crucify him." So I told them, you see, I don't like praises. I don't. When I get my job, I focus on my job and I deliver my job to the best of my ability. When I go home, there are 3 persons I want to satisfy.
How do
the
you
people,
think,
my wife, my children.
how do you think we can improve relations, politically speaking, in Rivers State?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I've served as governor of Rivers State, and my tenure is over. If you see, I'm going to tell those who listen to me privately that when you give him a small boy a job bigger than him, he is not able to deliver. 4 years, 2 years into my government as governor of Rivers State, killing stopped in Rivers State. Because I knew that the oath of office I took is the oath of office that says to me, I promise to protect lives and properties. So I bought security equipment. I bought equipment that dictated who was going to kidnap tomorrow morning. I brought in foreigners. After taking permission from the federal government, I brought in Israelis and kept them in Rivers State. So before you commit any crime, they are aware.